Good evening, everyone. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call, Lori.
Julia Ah.
Here.
Linda Baker.
Here.
Melissa Bliss. Nicole Cover.
Here.
Ross Daniels.
Here.
Ben Carley.
Here.
Aaron Noack.
Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any comments or questions on the agenda for tonight? There being none, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support. Roll call.
Julia Ah.
Yes.
Linda Baker.
Yes.
Melissa Bliss. Nicole Cover.
Yes.
Ross Daniels.
Yes.
Ben Carley.
Yes.
Aaron Noack.
Yes, agenda is approved. Up first tonight, presentations, the teacher tenure recognition. Superintendent Nash.
All right, always an exciting time of the year to recognize some fabulous teachers that have been us. We have a couple of them within us in the audience tonight. So I'm first going to read the Certificate of Excellence, and then I will invite the two of them up here. So Three Rivers Community Schools and the Board of Education present the certificate to Kaylee Billings and James Phillips for the completion of tenure with Three Rivers Community Schools and providing exemplary service for the past 5 years to the students, staff, and community of Three Rivers. We will look forward to your continued commitment and service for many years to come. So James and Kaylee, would you come on up? Thank you for everything. Congratulations. Thank you for everything. Congratulations. And then you both should have received a letter in the mail as well. So, and then the other one that's not able to join us tonight is from the high school, Amber Arnold. So I would like to thank you for your dedication and continued service. And I was hoping maybe she was walking in the door. And I look forward to seeing you around.
Nice speeches, Kaylee or Jamie.
No, they're like, no. And you are welcome to stay, but you're done and you can
Have a great
go
night.
enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next, first call for public comment.
Kim Talbot.
Good evening, my name is Kim Talbot. That was kind of a long day. I'm a TR grad, and I was a band kid, and now I'm a band mom. I'm also on the band booster board. You guys are probably gonna get sick of hearing me. I'm here tonight to keep in the front of the school board's mind that cutting the hours and compensation to Mylan Bowe, the assistant band director, is not a good financial decision. Ms. Bowe is a vital part of the success and the experience of the Three Rivers bands. By limiting her involvement during this school year, students will have reduced access to everything the band program has to offer. The band program means a lot to so many people of all ages that it would be a shame to see it diminished due to budget cuts. TR Bands has always had an outstanding program. There's got to be some compromise the district is willing to consider to keep Ms. Bowe as a full-time teacher assistant band director. Our program needs her in order to be the best that it can be. Thank you.
Moving into our work session.
Yep, so we have curriculum with Jen, and you'll be talking with with the ELL handbook, and then Lauren is also here with us tonight, so she'll be joining you. So that's Ben and Nicole. Ben, you'll report out. Facilities, talking about some transportation strategies as we continue to face our challenges of staffing. Linda and Aaron will attend that one. Linda, you will report out. And then Finance Committee to talk about the available fund balance that has been sitting there for a few years that's assigned to something. No, it's not money that's sitting there, so I want to be very clear
It's
with that.
unallocated, right?
It's unallocated, but it's not like it's just money that we can go and just pull out. It's not cash available.
Right.
So I just want to be very clear with that part of it. And that's Julia and Ross, and you'll be meeting with Angie. So we have tables set up in the back, and we're going to go 15 minutes with that piece. Oh, sorry, you're fine.
Okay. So first curriculum committee, guys, you want to report out, please?
Sure, we had a very educational time. We learned a lot. So we were talking about English language learners, and Lauren McDonald and Jen Graber walked us through and made some updates to the handbook for ELL services, and just talked about ways to make the service more equitable in terms of access to the Michigan merit standards, as well as just access to content in general. They walked us through a little bit about the process. First, a student has to enroll and then fill out a screener, and based on that screener, that's what they would then use to talk about whether they want the services or not. Families can opt out, but they do have to take the test in the wintertime. So we learned a little bit about additional funding and what that goes to as far as materials, some of the social kind of activities that they have arranged for families. So very cool stuff, very good work. We also learned there's currently 6 different languages that Lauren's working with students on, although that grows as exchange students enroll. So tends to be 2 or 3 more on average. So just we were asking her some questions on data. Lauren on the spot said generally we get on average 70 to 75 students a year that participate in services with her. So it was very informative, but also as Jen and Lauren mentioned, it was time to update the handbook and to be able to speak that language speak policy and handbook when she's talking to administrators about accessing these supports beyond just calling Lauren.
Thank you. Any questions for Ben? Next, facilities, and Linda.
Yes, we had a interesting discussion about the complexity of bus routes and what to do when we don't have enough drivers. We have enough buses, but not enough drivers. So there's been some discussion about canceling routes, which has already happened. We have experienced that. I'm sure that's not cheating at all. However, the good news is they've hired 4 new drivers. They're now completing their training.
Wait, this is for, since you sent that email last Friday, that we're down?
That included, this is
Oh.
the response to that email, or this is the details of that email.
Oh, okay.
Of the rotational, and he's got a rotational schedule. You wanna hand him that one with the purple schedule?
And I was thinking we were flushing it.
No.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah, I wish. All right, sorry. I'm giving them the rotational schedule so that they kind of idea what we're talking about.
So, anyway, they've been doing a lot of brainstorming at the transportation center, trying to figure out if they can advise the drivers from the districts, if they can access some contracted drivers, and those things are helping, or being productive. And so there was a discussion of maybe a rolling cancellation of routes, because this occurs throughout the year, instead of outright canceling a route, perhaps having a 2 or 4 week cancellation of a particular route for specific routes, and then that would roll to other routes for the next period of time. And so that's something I think the board will be discussing. Let's see here. There's a huge burden on staff to do repeated notification to parents and guardians about canceling or changing routes. So that's another thing that's really a huge burden that we don't need. So we're trying to figure out a way to have these adjustments happen without it being worse on staff that's still in the office. So anyway, this is ongoing. They have discussed many things, and I think we'll continue to do that. So, I don't know if anybody have any questions. I don't know. Obviously, the answer is hire about 5 more bus drivers, but if anybody's listening,
So the transportation department is actually looking for our input tonight, so we're not going to formally vote on But essentially the options are to continue with the two designated cancellation routes until we get, drivers hired and trained. We have 4 going through training, but that's still gonna leave us short 2 at the end of their 6-week training. So our option is to keep the canceled routes as the canceled routes. Nikki and Brian and Kenny Jean and the team had thought, instead of canceling that one route for the unforeseeable future, take it and spread it out and cancel a different route every 2 weeks. That way parents, one specific demographic of the student or area of the students it's not theirs, they're not the sole ones getting canceled. So they talked about doing a 2-week cancellation every 2 weeks. Then we talked about what if, because of the increase in demand of communication to parents, of which, yes, we have this, but I don't know if you've noticed, like, a lot of parents just are not aware of the changes or paying attention to the changes. So rather than throwing a new change at them every 2 weeks, if we throw it at them every 4 weeks, it would essentially look like over the next 6 months, each bus route would have its turn on the cancellation list. And so, every 2 bus routes would have their turn on the cancellation list over the next 6 months. So they just wanted input from us on how are you guys feeling? Do you want to keep the status quo and cancel the 2 routes and keep them canceled? Do you want to do cancel 2 different routes every 2 weeks or 2 different routes every 4 weeks?
I like your idea of 4 weeks, actually, because otherwise I think we're just creating more work somewhere else. So I think that makes sense. I mean, it's unfortunate, but as a parent, I guess my kids in school, I would rather know that I had just figured out for 4 weeks, but not 2 weeks periodically or randomly or ever. That would all be awful. So I like the 4 week idea.
My only hesitation with the 4 weeks or 2 weeks is with how confusing it got. That's likely just going to rehash itself every 4 weeks. And my wife has said people have come to her, it was an absolute nightmare. So, do we really want to do that every 4 weeks? We're also relying on people who are also very busy themselves, who have quite honestly forgotten to look at these things. I think we might be setting ourselves up for failure if we try to do that every 4 weeks. I know it stinks to just have a dedicated canceled route, but nothing changes.
So just sitting here, what if we mapped it out, maybe as an 8-week period, and each bus, you get this 8 weeks, and it only happens one time during the school year? You get this, we'd have to figure out and calculate the number of weeks times the bus routes that we have. It only happens once, but it might be a 6 or 8 week period. Sorry, Brian, I'm talking out loud now, so.
No, I think that's.
So then it only happens once, but it's for a longer period of time. And then everybody's gonna get their turn though.
Well, that seems like a long time for people to have to make alternative arrangements. I mean, with transportation, their own transportation needs are.
Well, versus no transportation.
Right.
I mean,
they're going to overtime anyways.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna be chunked out. Cause if you look at the schedule, I'm bus 3, I'm gonna go 8 weeks in the school year, 2, 2, and 2, rather than I could just go 8 weeks from October 9th till December 9th, and I'm done for the year. After that, I know I have transportation. You see what I'm saying?
Brian, now that we've,
I'm just saying, well,
I
but
think
if it's
if
4,
you
it's
did
twice in the school year. Where if you did it 8, it's 1 time in the school year. Or whatever, 6, we'd have to calculate how many weeks left, how many buses we have. So every bus will get its turn for 4 to probably 5 to 7 weeks, probably.
Well, I mean, if we started at the beginning of the year, for one thing, or right now, with the perspective scheduling, whatever is decided, everybody's gonna get that, they're gonna get it, a phone call, something on the website, paper, whatever it is, maybe, I don't know what else we could do.
But this starts next week.
Yeah, and right, for next week, but I mean, they get it for the whole rest of the year, this is what the deal is gonna be for all this stuff. And then, okay, so anyways, I'm thinking that we would do that. And that should eliminate some of the confusion, I would think, because everybody would get that at the beginning, and hopefully that would get around the neighborhoods. The kids would take papers home, I mean, just like somebody said, over advertise this. The thing is, if you have to make alternative arrangements, though, sometimes you can make them temporary, you can bake somebody or, figure something out for a shorter period of time, maybe 2 to 4 weeks, but not necessarily for 2 months. So that's what I'm kind of thinking could be a problem also.
Is there any recommended model in other, I know it's not isolated to here by any means, but in any of your research with other districts, states, counties, or anybody doing anything similar?
We've talked with surrounding districts as well as private sector transportation service providers, which include First Student, transportation as well as delivery services. So we use out both private sector as well as K-12. We have one actually in my department, who's just notified they're going on a rotational cancellation for his child. So some of the districts are using this approach. We have other districts that just flat out cancel jobs for the duration of the year. Private sector tends to lean towards the rotational. The reason being, to be quite candid, is that way everybody shares the challenge. It's just a lateral across the board. So it's really the preference.
I just have a couple,
Thank you, that's helpful to know.
2 questions. One, does, like yourself and Jean, Kenny Jean, are you guys all certified to drive bus?
Kenny, Jean, and Kelly are certified to drive bus.
Do they drive bus or no?
Currently.
Okay. And you're not certified? Okay. Have we ever looked at that or no? Because I'm just thinking, is there an opportunity, I've seen that in other areas. I know in Wisconsin, they actually have school board members that are driving buses. The governor declared, a state of emergency there. The other thing too is, now that the first couple weeks of school have been done, have you looked at the routes to say, like, in the neighborhood I lived, like, the bus looked like it was a skeleton bus. This was years ago, so I'm not saying it's current trend, but if you've got a skeleton bus, is there an opportunity to condense the stops and maybe not stop it all together, but maybe there's a parent that's willing to, consolidate because you don't have it, it's not as full as maybe another route that you've got 95% of your kids that are eligible to ride the bus. Have we looked at that from who actually gets on AM and PM, and should they be on the same rotation versus a bus that's only being used 40% of the time?
Yeah, we did a consolidation at the beginning of the year.
Right, yeah.
We went through.
I just meant the last couple of weeks, like, have you seen one that's not being used as much?
But we can't, when we allocate transportation, is not based on how big the student or whatever chooses not to utilize it, or a parent chooses not to utilize it, even though they have assigned time for it because it was requested, we can't fill that seat because we don't know if they're gonna be there the next day or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just didn't know, like, I used to just say, my kids won't ride the bus, you know what I mean? Do you have anybody that just comes out of it where they just say, hey, FYI, don't look for us?
We don't have kids, they all have to register, so you don't automatically get put on, back in the
No,
day,
no, I
you got
know.
put on the bus,
Yeah.
you're on the bus list.
Yeah.
You have to register.
Right, but the people that registered, are you seeing where they're not showing up, or is it are all the buses pretty full?
I would say they're all full.
Okay.
What we're trying to say, does it matter? Because if they register, they're gonna be there, then you have to have a spot from every day, whether they come or not.
Well, I know, I agree with that, but you're still gonna cancel them for 8 weeks, and I think you could factor that into maybe which routes get canceled for a longer period of time if you don't have as many kids using it.
No, it's pretty, our
Pretty
bus
consistent,
population,
okay.
yeah, it's pretty average across.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger, I'm just
No.
asking questions, because,
No, yeah.
I think if there's an opportunity to backlog them answering the phones and then getting them all out driving, I mean, it could just be an alternative to, least get another driver or whatever, anybody that's willing to do it. Like a peer program. That's willing to get that license.
But that's probably kind of a common thing we just keep during the year, so all of a sudden you think you got it solved, and all of a sudden there's somebody who's gonna have to write on foot because there isn't any room for bus. So that's not gonna work.
So-
you wanna look at the extended?
What I'm hearing though is, my takeaway is the least amount of times, but a longer period of time would be the better way to go, whether it's 4 or 6 weeks. That's my preference.
That, I would think so, yeah.
Extending, yeah, that's, I mean,
So like if
extending
I'm
that
bus
is
free and I cancel
much.
it for 6 weeks and I've got 6 weeks in October and November, I'm done for the year. I know that I have. So that's, we're saying the least amount of times is better
Yeah.
than 4 2-week periods.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because we did a lot of notice and there was still a lot of people saying they didn't know, so I think if you
A lot
start
of
doing.
people who didn't sign up for busing either and then
No, I
complain.
mean, that's what I mean, even though it was out there, obviously something's missing, so then you do every 2-4 weeks, I think there's gonna be.
More
We're never
opportunity.
gonna hit everybody,
So
though.
we're saying
No, there's still gonna
Bigger
be people
windows.
complaining that they didn't know.
less cancellation.
You're always gonna have that, I mean, that's, but the fewer times you can throw,
Right.
you know, some into the gears,
Okay.
better,
Easier to plan for.
yes.
There's no great option here.
There isn't.
It sounds like you've explored everything, including the marketing, continuing to recruit. That's another piece of the prong.
And I know Brian and Angie have worked to reach out to third-party contractors
Sure.
to see, you know, I mean, I know everybody's working hard on it, it's just we're coming back to the same issue every
Right.
time.
Gotta do something.
We don't have a driver, we
It's not
can't put
good.
that bus on the road, and it's hard to pick demographically, just to say, you know, look at the buses and say, we're gonna pick them, because demographically, there's everywhere in our district,
If we-
some way or another to have.
If we increased our walking range, would that solve anything?
Let's say that might be a further discussion. I've talked to a few districts. If you are in city limits and you go to a city school, you don't have transportation. That's what they're moving to.
I was just curious what the answer.
So like Norton Park, because of the way our district being is, when Huss, giving you all history lesson here, when Huss and Barrows were open, the in-town school kids went to those, but when we closed those, when they redistricted several years ago, I think, well, obviously it was a lot, because Huss and Barrows are open, but, you know, like anybody over here on the southeast side of town, like, they go to Norton, if you're on the northeast of town, you go to Park,
Mhm.
you're in town, but you go to an out-of-town school.
Sure.
So,
Here, the country's
it's just, yes, and it's just the way our districting is. We can't all fix that right now.
No.
So, that has been a conversation, so even though I have a city limits address, and I go to Norton, I would still get transportation.
Right.
So, but I will say, there, probably more discussion to come sooner than later on what to do with transportation.
What is the process, or I guess timeline, when somebody says, yeah, I'm interested in being a driver? Interview, application, but then they have a 6-week period of training, is that what you mentioned?
So it's about a 2-week or a 8-week process. By the time you interview, onboard, get them training, it's about an 8-week period.
That's important to know too. I mean, I think we all knew that, but just saying it out loud, that if somebody applies tomorrow, they're still 8 weeks away from getting behind the wheel.
8 weeks if they don't have the right license, but if they come with the right license, would it be quicker?
Yeah.
I mean, have we ever looked at, I know,
Yeah.
like, do we give a bonus or anything if they come with that license automatically?
So you're saying that if like we had bus drivers, like we had some leave to Constantine, they're not going through an 8-week process, right? Okay.
They already have the credentials.
Yeah. So that'd be similar if we had the reverse.
But then somebody just recently said that if you go from one school district to another, you can't immediately start working, there's a 9-month waiting period?
For teachers, right?
If they're what?
Retire. If you retire and then try to go back, there's a 9-month waiting period.
Okay, so that's not for everybody that goes from one to the other.
Not from district to district, only if you retire from
Okay, gotcha, okay.
And if someone straight up applies, they have no credentials, they say, all right, I'm in for the 8-week haul, do they get paid during that, like while you're doing your training.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's an additional marketing piece that would help, I'm sure you thought of that. Thought of all the-
Yeah, we pay their hourly and we pay their
actually
training.
utilize them as support function during that process as well as concurrent training, so it's kind of a double dip, if you will, in that respect, that the person getting exposure in field as well as training, so we really try to maximize that utilization.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking though, like if they already have the required license and you factor in 6 weeks as an extra $4,500 and you offer them a $2,500 bonus for having the right credentials and coming to work and getting them to work faster. I just wondered if we'd ever look at that. Cause I can tell you, like, I'm in a area where we're short too, and when you reward that way, like when you say, okay, you were already gonna spend probably more than what there's something about bonuses, I don't know what it is, like, we did have people jump, you know. Now, some of the bonuses were $100,000 and some were 40, I mean, but I'm just saying, it's something that they feel like they're valued for something that they already have and they can bring to you because you can put them to work sooner, so I would encourage you to at least look at it. I did submit the letter to Governor Whitner's office about Wisconsin and school board members, because I've got kids that go to sports, I'd be more than willing to drive for sports, so, you know, I'm not saying we're gonna change it, but at least I'm throwing the ideas out there that I'm seeing from all.
So based on your comment, when do you want to start training?
Yeah, but I can't, because they said that we can't, because I'm considered a,
Oh, so there's a legislative reason why you can.
yes.
Nicole and I have already talked about this.
Yeah, we've already said.
Yeah, I'm
sign
right
us
there,
up,
so
like, yeah. Now, Wisconsin, what the governor did is issued a state of emergency because of the shortage. And Wisconsin and Michigan legislatively do pair up pretty well. So, you know, California, I wouldn't have sent it to her because we don't really pair up well, but I just thought that she'd like to know what Wisconsin was doing, and I shared it with a couple of other school districts, just sending like, hey, I don't know if you watch this, I just happened to be looking up a pharmacy legislative thing and I found it. I sent it to Nikki too, like, you know, what you'll find in all states is we all have similar problems, so why not share what everybody's doing and let's see what sticks to the wall, right? Like, but I did send it, because I thought it was a really good idea, especially if you've got people that are vested and have kids going to those places anyway. If I can take your softball, baseball, whatever routes and free up your teacher, or your drivers for something else, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, we started about 2 years ago, we started soft marketing, the concept of part-time. I mean, literally, I have most of my guests, I'm talking to the lady for one right now, come back from the National Forest. Why is that? So it's post-retirement intention for the first 3 months, and then when he comes back, I anticipate he'll be coming out because he loves sports. He was
Right.
a rivers person, he lives down in Niles, and I said, are you going to commute? He goes, if you're gonna pay me to drive varsity level to a game, and pay me to stay there, and pay me to drive back, I'm on board, because I watched the video.
Exactly.
I went, God,
Yeah.
when we get back to it, we'll sign you up, buddy. So,
Yeah, but I just think that bonus thing might be just another angle.
Do you have any idea which recruiting method has been most successful in terms of, I don't know if you even can get any data on that, but job fairs versus social media versus, I know you've done a million types of strategies, I just wondered with transportation, if there's been any type of method that's been more successful than the next.
that was
Just
word of mouth, you know, that's-
probably.
I would say word of mouth and social media, Facebook,
And,
So I mean,
yeah.
those are good things for the community to hear, that those 2 methods, that's what I figured, right, that those are the best methods, just keep talking and posting and on social media.
I know, we put out a few times with bus drivers, and I know right before school started, we had a couple that resigned, and I was like, Lord, let's get this out today. And she put that together, so we've been trying to.
Yeah, I've got an image embedded on the homepage of the website too, that's right there, right as you open it. And it's for bus drivers. And then on Facebook, I usually pin things like that to the top of the page, so that way it doesn't kind of get lost in the feed, so.
Let's get some high schoolers together to make a video, we need your help. Or
TikTok.
Show up.
Right.
Your TikTok goes a long way.
I've done it before with other.
All right, so we will go back to the drawing board and, do longer periods of time, less times during the year. So, thank you for your, thank you for that discussion.
And Julie, finance.
Finance committee was brief. We just discussed that bringing to the next meeting, correct, Angie? A motion to uncommit the unallocated funds of $741,000.
I think that was the quickest finance.
Yeah,
Any
ever.
questions of Julie? All right, good. Our board calendar is September 18th, will be no school for students with a staff full professional development day. That night of the 18th will be the Board of Education regular meeting, and then September 24th is the first annual Rivers High School homecoming 5K run and walk. Anything I'm missing on the board calendar? Okay. Any board member comment?
Just, I'm having surgery the 18th, so I won't be in attendance.
I found marching band's first performance at,
That will also be on that day.
halftime at football this week, and they did a very good job. A lot of freshmen on there, and grandson was one of them. And, a few of them looked a little nervous, but when they got out there, they did a wonderful job, so very nice to see.
Thanks again to
Kudos to those.
transportation. I know they're working really, really hard on this problem, and it's a huge problem beyond just our district, so. Thank you. I know you've gotten a lot of nasty phone calls and emails and social media, and that's not easy. Including jumping behind buses and rearranging the morning of. Or,
Any other board member comment? Okay. Board is going to move into closed session as permitted under section H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material that is subject to the attorney-client privilege and exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. Need a motion to go into closed session? For roll call?
Linda Baker.
Yeah.
Melissa Bliss. Nicole Cover. Ross Daniels.
Yes.
Ben Carly.
yes.
Julia Ah.
Yes.
Aaron Noack.
Yes. Board is now in closed session.